This is Wild Green Streams. I'm Rhett.
I'm Curtis.
I'm Leroy.
These are cattails. The brown things on these water reeds, well, they're not edible. But don't you think they ought to be? They're just golden russet groupings of highly compressed seedlings that expand rapidly on impact. So they're not that good for eating. But even so, me want bite. Me want plant corn dog delight. Me want deep fried. Me think water Twinkie nice. This is seafoam, shot with high-speed photography, and it's not edible. Don't you think it ought to be? It's just a waste from sea creatures shot at a very high rate. It's practically just turned up fish poop, ammonia and nitrates. But even still, me want eat. Me want tasty ocean treat. Me want spoonful. Me want sweet cream from the beach. This is lava. It's external molten rock, you see, and it's not edible. But don't you think it ought to be? It's just melted liquid minerals that our bodies can't extinguish. It can reach 1200 Celsius, so you really shouldn't drink it. But even then, me would like to partake of yon spicy smoothie lake. Me would rather enjoy imbibing it till me fire slush thirst is slaked.
That was Me Want Bite by TikTok sensation Jordan Keys. He'll be on the show later, but first, do you guys want to do a top three?
Let's do it.
A top three is when we have a certain category, in this case, frogs, and we list out our top three favorite of that category. Curtis, you want to go first?
Yeah, I picked the wood frog. It's a local to my area of New England, and that general area, and they're able to basically produce a natural antifreeze, and I think it gets to the point where like their heart actually stops beating and they turn into a block of ice, yet their blood is still active. I don't know the exact chemistry of all this, but basically this frog can turn into ice over the winter and then just completely defrost and go back to its life after having like been essentially dead by like human standards. They're also a vernal pond frog, so they are dependent on habitats that either have water only certain times of year or oxygen levels that are so low that they don't have any fish in them. Basically, they need a pond that doesn't have any fish because that allows a much higher survival rate of their tadpoles.
So my third favorite frog is Rhinoderma darwinia. It's known as Darwin's frog.
I almost put that on my list.
Oh yeah, there's a good reason for that. So it's a frog. You find them in southern Chile and Argentina, and you can find them at high elevations around 1,500 meters. And what's really interesting about these guys is that they have a really interesting like life history, in that the males will store the tadpoles after they hatch in their vocal sac, which is like really interesting. They're direct developers, which means that they don't lay eggs. They give birth to sort of live tadpoles. The males will store the tadpoles in their vocal sac for around 50 to 70 days. It only really shelters the tadpoles, but it nourishes them through secretions in the vocal sac that provide sustenance to the tadpoles as they're developing in the vocal sac.
So it's
which
kind
I
of almost
think-
like a marsupial frog.
Yeah, it's similar to a marsupial frog. It's different. I think marsupial frogs in like Australia they're slightly different. They're more like some of them are gastric brooding. This one is not. This one like keeps it in the vocal sac.
I forgot that there are marsupial frogs. When I said that, I was just saying it's like a kangaroo.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
of course,
it
the
is like a
marsupial
kangaroo,
frogs
yeah.
are in Australia because
I
just
think they're
because.
extinct now.
Oh,
Oh no, they're not. Yeah, I think they're extinct now. But they are in South America, but they're a different group.
so I actually remember what a marsupial frog is now, and I have a really crazy fact about them. They just kicked out what my third favorite frog was going to be. I'm going to say marsupial frogs are my new
out of
third favorite
curiosity,
frog.
what was your initial third?
Oh, it's also my least favorite frog. It's the Suriname toad.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm gonna steal
I
that
was
one.
thinking about going there, but I didn't.
Don't Google image search that. If you're listening
Oh,
right
I
now,
disagree.
don't do it.
Google it.
No,
Google it.
Google image search.
They're leading you
Pippa,
astray.
PIPA, PIPA.
Okay, well, other than the frog, which shall not be named, this is my third favorite frog, and it's a group of frogs called marsupial frogs that were found in Australia. Some or all of them are now extinct because of chytrid fungus, but the crazy thing is they are one of the few species to be partially de-extincted. Other than them, the only other vertebrate species that's been brought back from extinction, where it went extinct and then they managed to clone it, bring it back to life, was the Pyrenean ibex, a goat-like animal in the Pyrenees Mountains, which was cloned in the early 2000s. The baby died soon after because of some birth defects. But this frog, the marsupial frog, they actually managed to make viable living eggs from it after it died. They cloned these eggs. The only problem is this might be one of the worst frogs to try to start that kind of a thing with, because marsupial frogs would eat their eggs and they would incubate them, if that's the right word, in their stomachs in a particular mix of chemicals and conditions, which was required in order for it to survive. And then they would just come out of their parents' mouth afterwards. Unfortunately, while we can clone them and we can make living eggs, we don't know what those conditions were. So we haven't been able to make adult marsupial frogs come back from extinction yet.
Can I just say that it's so bizarre that going back to the other de-extinct animal, the what type of ibex was it?
Pyrenean.
Yeah, it's the only animal to go extinct twice, which is sad, but just such a weird fact. It's like we brought you back and then it died.
Yeah,
So,
about 7 minutes later.
It's a sad fact, but just a really weird fact.
So Curtis, what's your number two?
My number two is the golden poison frog, which is a 2-inch poison dart frog that is found in Colombia, about 2 inches long, and one of the most toxic animals on Earth. The poison from one of these frogs is believed to be able to kill 10 to 20 humans. This is one frog, 2-inch frog, which correlates to about 2 adult male African elephants.
This frog can kill 2 African elephants?
Yeah, it's a 2-inch frog that can kill 2 African elephants. And like most poison dart frogs, it will lose its toxicity in captivity because it consumes the poison of ants in the wild. And I guess just sort of, it must concentrate it somehow, because I don't know of any ants that can kill elephants. So yeah, if these are not fed their natural ant diet, they become basically harmless unless it, like, I don't know, nibbles you to death or something. I don't know what damage a 2-inch frog could do. But yeah, a 2-inch frog that can kill an elephant per inch. So
it's insane. It's cool.
it's a beautiful frog too. Golden poison frog. Bilobates terribilis, which is a great name.
Do you want to describe what they look
Yeah.
like?
Almost like a lemon yellow, just like bright yellow. Like a lot of the other poison dart frogs have like different color patterns and or blacks, or like the legs are one color, the arms are another. This one's just yellow. Apparently there are mint green and orange morphs as well, which are not as common. It's like a banana or a lemon yellow, just a very yellow frog. What's your number 2 frog, Leroy?
So my number 2 frog is It's a really interesting frog. This is deep cut. This is a deep cut frog. It's a species epithet is Nesicapatrachus sahyadrensis. It's also known as a purple frog. So these are from Western Ghat Mountains of southern India. It's the only species in its family, and it's a small purple frog. It's kind of globular. It's a burrowing frog, and it's got a little nasal protrusion.
It looks like a soft-shelled turtle.
Yeah, it does, right? Like the nasal protrusion makes it look like a soft-shelled turtle. I know a lot of people who, when I showed them this frog, they tell me it looks like a poop, and I can't really disagree, but I think it's pretty cool. It's one of those frogs that has an interesting biogeographic history. Like I said before, it's the only species in its family, and the closest living species are these frogs from the Seychelles Islands in the Indian Ocean, meaning that they diverged when India and the Seychelles would have been on the same landmass, which would have been Gondwana land at the time. So this was before India split off from Gondwanaland. So that's when they diverged. But if you look at the two, they're really different looking. And they diverged like millions and millions of years ago. I don't remember how long, but like a long time ago.
So before the
Right.
Himalayas, before Mount Everest.
Way before.
Yeah,
before.
Gondwanaland started to break up in the Jurassic around 180 million
Yep.
years ago. Yeah, their relatives were separated when like dinosaurs were ruling the earth. That's pretty
That's right.
insane.
When dinosaurs ruined
Yep.
the earth.
Yep.
Ruled.
No, rule the earth. No, exactly. Yeah.
Life was so
And
much
it's-
better back when it was just trilobites and ammonites. damn dinosaurs.
That's what I'm saying.
Man.
But yeah, no, it's a deep divergence between the two groups. I guess there's lots of different reasons why that would be. Maybe like there's a bunch of them or a bunch of different families in between, and they all went extinct, and there's the only one that's left. That's usually how it goes. But yeah, that's my pick, number 2, the purple frog.
I'm reading up on this,
very-
and something really cool is I am assuming because it's a burrowing frog, it was known as a tadpole since 1918,
That's
but
right.
the adult wasn't formally described till 2003.
That's right.
Wow.
That's right. It's a recently described species.
That's a cool
really
mystery.
like novel lineage. Yeah,
Yeah.
a really novel lineage.
That's often the case with cryptic animals where only one life stage is known and assumed to be something different entirely.
Yeah, but not just that. It's found in this isolated area. It's in the forest up there and not found anywhere else, really. 2 specimens were found at this locality and like on a rubber plantation in India. This is spring years during monsoon season. So that's where you would usually find it, amongst cocoa and coffee plants on the hilltops and rubber plants on the slopes.
So have they only ever found 2 of them?
So they found several. They found more. They found one being paired, deposited like 3,600 eggs in one night.
Okay.
They found a fair amount, but it's isolated in this one area.
They found at least 2 adults and at least 3,600 eggs.
At least.
At least.
Rhett, what's your next frog?
Okay, so my second favorite frog is the Rhacophorus frogs. Those are flying frogs. They exist all throughout southern Asia. They're a family, and they are called flying frogs. That's actually a misleading name slightly. They don't quite fly, but that's only something that nerds care about.
Falling with style.
They jump out of the tree, they spread out their legs, they have kind of like a flying squirrel type mesh in between their toes, and they can hold out their feet flat against the air, and it makes 4 little parachutes, which they use to control their descent, usually to another tree, I imagine.
That's just insane. Gliding animals like flying fish, flying snakes, flying squid. It's just such a cool adaptation.
You know what's wild to me?
Yeah.
You've ever seen a frog? You've ever looked at a frog?
Yes.
They're weird, right? Kind of weird.
No, they're a little weird.
80% of all amphibian species alive today are frogs.
Right.
Yeah, my uncle keeps telling me that he hates frogs and he's just like afraid of them. I'm like, why? He's like, because they're just wet all the time. You can never not be wet if you're a frog, and that bothers me. It's like, okay.
Can't trust them.
All right, my favorite frog is, I want everyone listening to just close their eyes and picture a frog. First frog that comes to mind, the froggiest frog, the most classic frog you can think of. And my favorite is the green frog because there's nothing exciting about it. It doesn't have insane adaptations compared to anything. The green frog, you think of a frog and this is it. It's like it's just a frog. It's green. It's sort of like a bullfrog, but smaller in terms of appearance. I like it because it's the quintessential frog. It's a green frog with long legs that lives in the water and grows up from a tadpole and hops and eats bugs.
It's like you were saying, Leroy. They're 85% amphibians, but they're weird as hell.
Yeah, even the
Yeah, I know,
normal
right?
one, now that I'm thinking too hard about it. Like, you ever look at a frog skeleton? It looks like one of those bad Halloween decorations. Like, what's going on
It's
with their
so weird, right?
ribs? It's
What
like
do they
somebody-
look like?
Short body, long legs.
Yeah, other than
Yeah.
the skull and limbs, this thing is like 50% pelvis. It looks like in the cartoons where like a cat pulls a fish skeleton out of the garbage can. Those are its ribs. It's like you told somebody to draw what they think a frog skeleton might look like, and they got it all wrong, except that's actually what it is.
Frogs also have this bone called a urostyle. Because when you think of a frog, what do you think of? What were you thinking when you think of a frog? What does a green frog do?
It
Jump,
jumps.
eat
It
bug.
jumps, right? These guys are like, I just want to jump. And so like they got this bone, this urostyle, with the structure and the musculature. It'd be like, I just want to be a really good jumper. And they figured that out. It turns out it's a pretty good system. What's wild about frogs is that they manage to adapt to all of these different ecosystems and like habitat types and niches, right? You got burrowing frogs, you got flying frogs, you got tree frogs, you got frogs that are in the water, you got frogs like up in the mountains, you got frogs in the desert.
Got frogs rolling
Wow.
down the mountains.
You got saltwater tolerant frogs that eat crabs.
Ooh, that was
Yeah.
almost going to be one of mine.
They came up in the meme group for some reason. They have some tolerance to salt water, which is extremely uncommon among amphibians.
But it has like evolved multiple times, but it's not that common.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So I'll go with my number one now, which is the Gopher Frog. Gopher Frogs. I might be a little bit biased because this one is near my hometown in North Florida, but gopher frogs are named Lithobates capito. And the reason I bothered even telling you that is that capito means head. They have some big old honking heads on the front of their bodies. Okay, picture a frog. Now scale up the head to be about the same size as the rest of its body and just have it sitting there where it's supposed to be. They are massively headed. And then they...
This is
They-
absurd. Remember that video game Spore where you can make weird animal evolutions and mess with the scale? It
Yeah.
looks like somebody tried to make a frog and that's like, I'm gonna make this 50% head. Yeah, this is absurd.
Well, here's the thing. Most frogs are mouth.
Yes.
Yeah, they got a loud mouth.
The gopher frog just kept going with that idea.
Yeah, exactly.
Leroy, what's your number one?
My number one, I noticed the two of you picked like hometown boys, hometown frogs. I did not. I'm cool. I picked. I
Mr.
picked-
Worldwide over here.
My number one frog is scientific name Trichotrichus robustus. It has many common names. It goes by the hairy frog. It's also known as the horror frog. It's also known as the Wolverine frog. It's a frog about yay big. And
Can you explain yay big to the audio format of this show?
Yay big means 10 to 13 centimeters.
Okay.
It's bigger than your average frog. It's from Central Africa, subtropical and tropical lowland forests. What's really interesting about these guys, so they're known as the hairy frog because male frogs during breeding season have these weird hair-like structures on their bodies and their thighs. It's not hair, but it's this weird structure that they have during breeding season. And no one really knows what they're there for.
Hmm.
The other cool thing about them is that they're also known as a Wolverine frog because these frogs have what folks will think are retractable claws. They're not claws. What they do is that they break their bones from their arms and project them through their skin. That's what they do.
normal.
So these aren't true claws because true claws will be made of keratin, right? They'll be like nails, right? No, it's actual bones that they project through the skin. Each claw is like anchored to these little nodules on their wrists with strands of collagen. And what they'll do is if it's attacked or if it feels like it needs to defend itself, it'll break its bones and like do the Wolverine thing. Put its dukes up, being like,
Well,
don't
does it-
mess with me, buddy.
What does
Does
that
it-
accomplish?
I mean, like, it's a form of defense, right? So it's like they're bones, they're sharp bones, you know. Bones can be sharp when they're broken. You have like a potential predator, like say a snake comes around, tries to take a bite out of this hairy frog, boom, breaks its wrists, takes out its bone spears and like starts messing with the snake. And the snake was like, I don't want to deal with this. This frog is too wild.
Does it regenerate or heal? Does it have other Wolverine factors?
So it's not exactly known what the retraction mechanism is. The bones retract passively and any damaged tissue is regenerated. The thing about frogs is that they all pretty much have Wolverine powers, like amphibians, really. All pretty much have Wolverine powers, and they can
like
regenerate.
Axolotl can
Yeah.
regrow brain tissue and hearts and
Yeah,
things.
yeah. They can regenerate limbs, tissue, and all that stuff. So that's my favorite frog. The hairy frog or the horror frog. I don't know why it's called a horror frog. I guess because like when you look at the little hair-like projections on it.
It's got a Freddy Krueger vibe going on too.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why.
Anyway, that's my favorite frog.
We'll go out of this segment to Leroy's Eastern Spadefoot call. And now for a word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by Poison Dart Frogs. Poison Dart Frogs, an elephant an inch.
This episode is brought to you by birds, nature's alarm clocks that you can't turn off.
This episode is brought to you by salamanders. They are not frogs.
They're also not lizards.
This episode is also brought to you by the horror frog. What is that?
This episode is brought to you by clean shoes. Please, clean your shoes when you go frog hunting. Don't track in Kitrid. Thank you.
This episode is brought to you by Dirty Shoes.
This episode is also brought to you by the Suriname frog. Don't Google it.
This episode brought to you by insomnia. Insomnia. You get it from watching too many videos of Suriname toads.
This episode is also brought to you by our newest Patreon supporters, Sophie, Alex, and Ashley. Thanks for your support. If you'd like to join our Patreon and get a shout out on the podcast and other cool rewards like monthly gifts in the mail, go to patreon.com/wildgreenmemes.
Thanks. And now it's time for our interview with TikTok sensation and Me Want Bite singer, Jordan Keys. We're going to switch out Leroy for Iona. Bye, Leroy.
Wait, no, I'm not ready. Oh no, it's a giant black hole. No!
Jordan, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks for being here.
So what about these three particular things so compelled you that inspiration seized you to make songs about wanting to eat them?
Well, I've always, I'm sure there's something Freudian in the fact that I've always had an oral fixation. Like I'm always chewing on something, toothpick, whatever. And so there's just things where I'm like, that I'd at least like to take a bite of that and see what it tastes like or what it feels like in my mouth. Actually, it started with the sea foam. I was scrolling through, it was either Reddit or Twitter, and somebody posted that image. And I was like, man, that looks delicious. That looks like something I either want on top of my coffee or just want a bowl of with some like chocolate syrup on it. And apparently other people felt the same way. And I put it into song. And then I was like, well, there's a whole backlog of things that I've already felt were looked tasty. And then I was also introduced to, there's like a subreddit called like Forbidden Snacks or something like that. And so I saw that there were other people feeling this way about different things. And I was like, okay, well then I should just put all of the things that I'm thinking out there and see what happens. And yeah, apparently it resonates with a lot of people. So I was happy about that. Not many of my thoughts are very relatable. So I'm glad that there's something that I can relate to people on. So
I have to disagree because I've been watching your stuff for about a year now, and I've been finding it really relatable. Like,
well, that's good.
Making a live action clip for the Big Red Dog movie is a horrifying idea.
That was good.
That's very relatable.
Well, I'm glad. I think that's what I love about TikTok and just the internet in general is that you can find your people. You wherever you are, you might feel like you're the weird one wherever you're at, but the internet lets you know that you're not the only weird one or the only one thinking this at any given time.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So are there other forbidden snacks of nature that you've considered making songs about, or have at least lived rent free in your
for
head?
sure. I think the ones that like Molten Glass, which is basically a lot like lava, that's definitely one. Oh, what was another one? I was I mean, I know you technically can eat acorns, but just like popping an acorn off the sidewalk into your mouth is very tempting for me. You know that like moss that like just that's like white furry moss that is on some like trees and stuff like that. That is also, I'm like, that looks like cotton candy to me. That's I'm all about that. So those are the ones that are I'm trying to like try some other things besides things I want to eat, but those are definitely going to pop up eventually for sure. Spoiler alert.
Oh, good. So
Yeah.
the Me Want Bite trilogy is more than just a trilogy.
Yes, it will continue.
Good. I thought
The saga continues.
Yes.
I was afraid that was the end, and then we got the Me Want Squish, and I was like, all right, there's more to the story.
It'll keep going as long as I have neurotic tendencies that and just self-destructive urges. That the song will keep going.
A genre of posts that kind of goes in that vein where of things like someone said they like eating rainbow nerds because they want to eat aquarium gravel, but it takes the edge off.
Somebody else said boba tea is the primal urge to drink frog eggs through a reed. And like,
I got a lot of people tagging me, and there was a video of somebody like scooping frog eggs out of a pond or something.
Yeah.
They were tagging me like, "You want bite?" That one for me, not that one does not do it for me. That one put me off, and I was like, "Look, I'm in no place to say what you what inedible things you should or should not eat. But for me, I don't want to yuck anyone's yum. But for me, it's not the frog eggs doesn't do it."
I'm with you. That must be an unexpected side effect of having made. By the way, he makes songs about lots of other topics, not just about eating things. If you're listening to the podcast, we're just really focused on this one thing. But but that must be an unexpected side effect of the songs, is that people are now just sending you lots of things that aren't food.
Yeah. I get a bunch of tags that just say "me want bite" or "you want bite," and for the most part, I agree. I generally am like, "Yep, absolutely, I get it. That looks like something I would want to eat." And but then every once in a while, you get a frog egg in there, and you think maybe not that one.
Yeah.
So you want to tell our listeners a little bit about your music beyond the Me Want Bite trilogy?
I love musical comedy of all kinds. So the things that kind of popped off first for me were like singing about news or current events type things, like not politics or anything crazy, but like when it came out that Chuck E. Cheese was changing their name so that people would order their pizza on Uber Eats, or the senior photo challenge. All of these things sound like they were a decade ago, but they literally happened less than a year ago, which is so wild to me. But that's a whole other phenomenon. But like when people were posting their senior photos out of like respect for how high schoolers missed their last
Oh man,
year.
I forgot about that. I blocked that out.
Yeah, I'm sorry to have brought it up again.
You've repressed that down. It's like, we're not going to think about that anymore.
Totally understandable to have done that. But I made a song that was like, and I was homeschooled, so I don't fully understand that. Hey, Curtis, you and me, boom, Nux. I don't fully understand, but I was like, even if they already have their senior photos, like people were posting their like team photos with their football, and I was like, that feels to me like bragging. That feels like rubbing it in the face of people who aren't going to have a senior year. And so I wrote a song about all of the things that you shouldn't. That if you were following the same logic as that photo challenge, you would be rubbing it in a lot of unfortunate people's faces. So started out with that, and then I started writing songs about weird, like childhood pop culture, books, TV shows, movies, things like that. And that's the other thing that kind of like, if you didn't follow me from Me Want Bite or something like that, someone probably followed me from a song about how technically in the book Stuart Little, it never says that he is a mouse. It says he is mouse-like in
Whoa.
appearance, but it never says that he's a mouse. So that was the other like one that popped off a little bit before Me Want Bite did. And so I do like a series of things where it's like, I don't know if you've thought about this childhood memory, but it's not as like cut and dried, fun, good times as you might have thought.
You're rocking my world with the Stuart Little thing.
Yeah, he was born
yeah,
to human parents. I remember reading the book, or having it read aloud to me years before the movie came out, which the movie already raises so many questions.
Oh yeah,
But
the
but
book has even more questions.
so.
Yeah.
That's like when you look into the original story behind any Disney movie.
Mhm.
Yes. Yes.
Any of the original fairy tales, you're like, they did what?
Yep.
Hans Christian Andersen hated feet, as you once said.
I
Yeah.
have a song about that as well, which I was able to deftly turn into an ad for Hank Green's sock collection. But
A quick pivot and you're off to the races.
yeah, just man, I can fit a plug in there with the best of them. So
Wow, that was great. That was very artful.
Yeah.
thank you, I appreciate it.
We have some questions that our group members sent in.
Awesome.
They were completely overwhelmed in the thread by people tagging each other just to show each other the TikTok sample we use. But we did get a few that came through where they actually read the caption and realized what we were asking for.
That's awesome. To get people to both watch a video, read something, and then respond is one of the toughest tasks on the internet. So
Well, we have about 300,000 members and got 2 good questions, so it worked.
Okay, it's a numbers game, baby. You play the numbers, you'll get those 2 good questions out of those 300K.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's the first one, which was sent in by our member Abby. And Abby's question is, what's the weirdest thing you've eaten that you shouldn't have?
Oh goodness. Probably. Well, I mean, there's foods that I shouldn't eat because they make me sick, but I like the taste of them. Like I have a bag of ghost pepper chips in my pantry that make me like just sick and absolutely sick to my stomach. But I have to eat like 5 to 10 of them a day, and if I eat any more, I will be done for the rest of the day. And I will still be sick even if I eat 5 of them. But they're so good that I have to.
Humans eating hot peppers is like the biggest prank on evolution our species ever played. It's like peppers are like, I'm gonna be spicy, so certain things don't eat me, and we're like, yes, I will have that, and like some chips, and just.
I want the pain with the food, please.
Yes.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The peppers are like, I'm going to evolve so that it's actually quite literally painful to eat me. And then we're like, perfect. That's just what I was looking for.
And you know what? It worked out for them.
Yeah.
Now
we're
they
breeding,
get
now we're breeding them
cultivated.
nonstop.
Yeah, they get cultivated now. They get fed and watered. I mean, maybe it worked out in the end for them. We thought we were playing a joke on them, but really they're playing a joke on us. So maybe things to think about.
Absolutely.
Um,
And then I would say inedible things. Well, this is a drink. Well, technically not a drink. When I was, I think 3, I drank my brother's asthma nebulizer solution.
Oh my God.
Which is not intended for human consumption in any way, shape, or form. And it's supposed to be breathed in and then breathed out. But I drank some, and then that was followed up by a lovely charcoal milkshake to make me throw up the nebulizer solution. So I had a 2 for that day of things you shouldn't necessarily sup upon. And that's, I think since then, I've learned to resist those impulses a little bit better. But obviously they're still there.
Drinking a nebulizer sounds like the world's lousiest superhero origin story. Like you drank it and now you'll never wheeze again.
It's not even that I have super breath, or I just don't choke anymore. Like I don't my throat stays the normal size no matter what.
Your superpower is never having asthma.
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, and but like technically I still have like the mutated genes. So if anybody's like searching for mutated genes, they're like, this guy, he's a superhero, he's just hiding it. And then they come and it's like, guys, let me tell you, if you want me to not have asthma at someone, I can do that.
Oh,
That's
man.
great. Comic book when? That's my question.
It's gotta happen. It's gotta happen soon.
Yeah.
I feel like
I
there's
mean,
a song.
yeah,
the
I
story.
bet there's a song that could be about that. The next
Yes.
biggest superhero that you've never heard of.
Not Asthma Man.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, and then our next member question is from Nicole asking, have you eaten a cattail yet? And if so, what is your honest review?
I have not yet, but as you might have had some people comment on the original video, I have found that almost every part of the cattail is edible, despite what the song would suggest. That the roots and the stalks can be prepared, and even the pod thing before it flowers is edible. And so I have not taken a bite out of the hot dog yet. But I have a friend who I've made through TikTok, who I made through this video, who is she's Alexis Nicole. I want to make sure I get her name right. But she you might have had some of her stuff posted in yours.
Oh yeah,
as well.
her follow up made
There
its
you
way
go.
several times after yours.
Follow her because she's actually smart and knows things about stuff. And she is coming to Florida whenever like things open up again. She's planning a trip to Florida, and she is gonna bring me some pre-flowered cattail pods. She's going to prepare them, and we're going to eat them together. So once again, another spoiler alert, but hopefully I can turn that into a video because I think it would be fun just to get my honest live reaction to finally eating a cattail.
That would break the forbidden snack side of TikTok.
Yeah. Bringing it full circle.
It's got
all
such
the way
a
back
beautiful
around.
symmetry to it. I think you gotta.
And I've seen videos of the people taking a bite of like the hot dog part of the cattail, and something I didn't realize at first is like all the seeds are compressed. So like when people bite into it and then they're like, oh my gosh, and like so many more seeds come out of your mouth than you think went in, and like
it's like a magic trick.
And it reminds me of like the cinnamon challenge that people used to do where like they just choke on it, and like I've seen people bite these cattail things and like they like sound like they're having a terrible time because they're like, oh my gosh, this is like so much more, literally bit off more than they can chew, but like I still want to bite one.
They sound like
still want to.
They sound like someone who wishes they drank half a nebulizer when they were children.
Exactly. Oh my goodness, it's all coming together. Who needs the superpower of not having their throat close up more than the one man who has inspired more and more people to eat something that could potentially choke them? I'm the Tony Stark in this scenario.
Yeah.
I created Ultron, and now I must defeat the Ultron of eating cattails. Wow. We are on to something here.
That might have been the nerdiest sentence ever at our podcast.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, considering what this is, that's quite the achievement.
The Tony Stark of eating cattails. Like, only on this podcast would that sentence ever possibly make sense. And even then, does it? Yes, it does.
Previously unsaid sentences in human history.
Ooh,
Tony Stark of cattails.
We are breaking new ground here, ladies.
We are. We've got like 3 different projects in the making now. We're good to go.
So at some point during this whole cattail back and forth and explanation of what you can and can't eat on a cattail and how you can and can't eat them, I know the Discovery Channel got involved. Yes. What was that like?
That was so wild because I was an incredibly nerdy homeschooled kid who loved BattleBots and the Mythbusters and even just nature documentaries in general. And so to have this that had like been a huge part of my childhood, and and it was great. It was like, wow, I've been recognized by something that was like instrumental in helping me learn a lot of things, but also the reason I'm being featured is because I completely screwed up my path. It's like it would be like just a childhood hero being like, hey buddy, that
it's almost,
hey, you idiot. Thanks for the song, and here's why you're wrong.
it's almost like when Tony Stark became more and more in the limelight for creating worse and worse villains.
Yes, exactly. It's all coming back to me, and I'm really having to face my demons now. But yeah, like at the end of the day, it's cool. Like, I don't want to be one of those guys who like any attention is good attention, any press is good press, because I do think that's kind of lame. But I mean, it was something super fun, and if I helped in some way someone learn the right facts about it in an entertaining way, I'm super excited that it was hopefully used for that. So,
well, it was a lot of fun
Yeah, that's
for us to
great.
watch it. What's next for you with It's Keys and with your songs and your work?
well, I before all of this happened, I was like almost strictly a live performer. I was making music. I was making mostly like comedy, like hip hop inspired stuff, and did musical improv. And so now I'm really looking forward to hopefully being able to, like, I love making the videos and making music and making new songs and making fans on the internet, but more than anything, I love performing live. And so I'm hoping that I can use whatever clout I might have gained over the pandemic to come out of and be like, hey, let's do a tour. Let's do some shows. And to be able to integrate what I was already doing with the new facets of what I've found is a cool avenue online. And so that's what I'm really, really excited about, is to develop like something that would resemble, I guess, like a comedy special, I guess, that would blend all of the interests that I have, but be hopefully propelled forward by whatever notoriety I may have gained online. So that's
awesome.
kind of the goal right now. Yeah.
It's like,
And I can 100% imagine, like, as soon as you step on stage, people will be like, play Me Want Bite. Like, absolutely.
And I'm saving that for the end.
Yeah,
I'm not giving you that till the very end, because you're going to listen to the rest of my jokes that aren't as popular.
Exactly.
Let's go.
I feel like that's a conversation people have been having on TikTok and off TikTok. Like, Iona and I were just talking about, like, every club's going to be playing like Number One Victory Royale and Wellerman EDM remixes.
Yep.
So like, I would love to see these wholesome moments of TikTok and just like bleeding into real reality once the world's back to some semblance of normalcy.
Yeah, my ultimate dream is to like either be able to put together a full band, or there's already a couple other people that I want to do shows with that I've met through TikTok. There's I don't know if you've ever seen Emo Joseph, but he's he does music as well, but a lot of his songs are about being romantically involved with famous monsters. And so we really want to do a joint show, and the thing I want more than anything is to, like, as much as possible, have like a full band with multiple instrumentals and hit Me Want Bite, like lighters in the air, like full on arena power ballad style. Like
cattails, I don't want to be air.
Yes, and I've
heard on fire in the
I've
air.
heard they're incredibly flammable.
They are. They are.
I so I might have to find a safe
don't do
way.
that.
I might have to find, maybe I can develop something that looks like a cattail and sell it as merch at the beginning of the show, and then everyone, because fire in a crowded venue is exactly what you want to happen.
Make like a glow in the dark cattails.
But like make the
Not
cattail
light up
the cattail
Like
look like it has lava on it.